What if we could drink the universe's brew? The universe was no longer a silent enigma but a tangible creation, a vast alchemical concoction simmering in a celestial cauldron. For millennia, humanity had gazed at the night sky in wonder, dreaming of reaching the stars. But what if the universe itself could be distilled into a brew, a drinkable essence that held the secrets of existence? In the year 2468, astrophysicist turned alchemist Amara Kale achieved the impossible. She developed a technology called the cosmic infusion extractor, a device capable of collecting and condensing particles from the farthest reaches of the cosmos. Her goal? To craft a potion from the universe itself. The process was painstaking. Amara's team harvested stardust from supernovae, molecules from distant nebulae, and the faint echoes of dark matter. These ingredients were then fused in a plasma chamber, bound by quantum alchemy and refined to a shimmering liquid that seemed to pulse with its own light. They called it Etheria, the universe's brew. When the first vial of Etheria was ready, the world's greatest minds gathered in Amara's observatory, a massive dome perched on the icy cliffs of Antarctica. The liquid swirled in its glass container, a mesmerizing dance of colors that shifted with the movement of the stars above. Amara stood at the podium, her hands trembling as she lifted the vial. "This," she announced, "is the essence of creation. To drink it is to commune with the universe itself." The room buzzed with anticipation. Who would be the first to taste it? After a brief deliberation, Amara volunteered. Her logic was irrefutable. She had dedicated her life to this moment. The audience held its breath as Amara tipped the vial to her lips. The liquid was cool, almost otherworldly. As it touched her tongue, a rush of sensation overwhelmed her. She saw the birth of stars, the collision of galaxies, the dance of quantum particles. Memories that weren't hers flooded her mind. The journey of a comet, the silent drift of rogue planets, the violent beauty of a black hole consuming light. Amara staggered, her eyes glowing with an iridescent light. "It's alive," she whispered. "The universe is alive, and it's speaking to me." Her words sent shockwaves through humanity. News of Etheria spread like wildfire, sparking a global frenzy. Governments, corporations, and individuals vied for a taste of the brew. For those who drank it, the experience varied. Artists claimed it unlocked a wellspring of inspiration, while scientists described revelations that redefined their understanding of physics. Yet, for some, the brew brought nightmares, visions of entropy and the universe's inevitable end. Amara, now a conduit for cosmic knowledge, warned of the brew's dangers. "The universe's brew is not meant for everyone," she cautioned. "It reveals truths, beautiful, terrifying truths, and not all minds can bear them." But humanity was insatiable. Black markets emerged, offering diluted versions of Etheria. The brew became a commodity, its purity often compromised. Amara watched in despair as greed and hubris tainted her creation. Yet, she couldn't ignore the profound changes it brought. Those who drank Etheria and survived its revelations often emerged with a newfound purpose, a deeper connection to the cosmos. As the years passed, the world transformed. Humanity's perspective shifted from terrestrial concerns to a universal consciousness. Wars dwindled as people realized their shared existence was but a speck in an infinite cosmos. Science and art flourished, inspired by the mysteries Etheria unveiled. But the brew's ultimate secret remained elusive. What was the universe trying to communicate? One day, Amara, now aged and frail, gathered her most trusted colleagues. She proposed an audacious plan, to craft a final, pure batch of Etheria and drink it together. Perhaps, as a collective, they could decipher the ultimate truth. Under the auroras of Antarctica, the group gathered for their final experiment. They raised their glasses, the shimmering liquid reflecting the cosmos above. As they drank, their consciousnesses intertwined, merging with the universe itself. They saw not just the vastness of space but the threads that bound it together: love, entropy, creation, destruction, and the eternal cycle. And then they understood, the universe was not a machine or a deity but a story, ever unfolding. Each star, each atom, each life was a word in its cosmic narrative. Etheria was not just a brew, it was an invitation to be part of that story. When the group awoke, they found themselves changed. They could no longer see the universe as separate from themselves. They were the brew, the stars, the cosmos. "Drive," Amara Kale smiled, her final words resonating in the minds of all who had tasted Etheria. "We are the universe, and the universe is us. Drink deeply, and be whole." In the year 2225, Humanity had done what once seemed impossible. We had cracked the code of the stars, not just by exploring them, but by understanding them, decoding their essence, capturing their vibrations, and unlocking their deepest secrets. We had learned to brew the very substance that the universe was made of. It all began with a curious scientist, Drive, Linnea Grayson, an astrophysicist who had spent years studying cosmic energy patterns. While most researchers were busy trying to understand black holes or harness dark matter, Linnea was focused on a more ethereal question: what if the universe itself was a kind of drink? Her theory, called the essence principle, posited that the universe could be thought of as a vast, cosmic brew, one where the galaxies, stars, and planets were the ingredients and the gravitational forces were the stirring motions that kept it all in balance. The laws of physics, she argued, were like the recipe to this brew, ensuring that the concoction remained potent and stable. At first, her ideas were dismissed as whimsical, but Linnea's theories began to gain traction when she and her team developed a machine called the Brewmaster, an instrument capable of distilling the raw cosmic energy from the stars themselves. In her laboratory, Linnea took the first sip. It was nothing like anything any human had ever tasted. It wasn't sweet or bitter, salty or sour. It was all of these things and none of them at once. It was a flavor beyond comprehension, a sensation that existed outside the realm of human experience. It filled her with an overwhelming sense of unity, a knowledge that transcended the limits of time and space. With that sip, the world would never be the same again.
The first sip, the Brewmaster, literary machine with Grayson in patents and cost-shifting, prismatic light, began to hum as it collected its first batch of cosmic essence. 20 years to the before it vibrated breath, staring at the swirling alien like liquid inside the transparent chamber. It was like walking into the heart of a supernova, a roaring mass of colors and energy that seemed to dance with life. She hesitated, not long fear. That's all. This was the universe itself, condensed into little ink. She could feel the weight of history upon her, knowing that the next moment would change everything. She raised the delicate glass to her lips. The moment the liquid touched her tongue, her senses exploded. The flavor was indescribable, like tasting the entire history of existence in a single drop. She felt the birth of stars, the death of worlds, the quiet pulse of black holes devouring light. She tasted the chaos of the Big Bang and the soul, inevitable drift toward entropy. That it was more than just sensations, it was language. In that moment, Linnea understood things no human had ever known: the true nature of time, the secret language of the stars, the patterns that governed the rise and fall of entire civilizations, not just on Earth, but across the cosmos. When she opened her eyes, she saw the universe in a completely new way. She was no longer just a spectator. She was a part of the grand design, the interconnectedness of everything: the galaxies, the planets, the subatomic particles was clear. She was no longer Linnea Grayson, a scientist in a lab. She was a thread woven into the tapestry of the cosmos. The spread of the brew, word of Linnea's discovery, spread like wildfire. At first, it was a secret kept within the scientific community, but it didn't take long for the governments, corporations, and even spiritual groups to learn about the universe brew. Soon, people were lining up for their chance to sip from the cosmic cup. The rich and powerful could afford the extensive, controlled versions, which offered only a fraction of the experience Linnea had had. These sips left them with a fleeting sense of euphoria, a glimpse into the infinite. But it was fleeting. For many, it was enough to start a spiritual awakening, a deeper connection with the universe. However, the real problem began when the less extensive, less purified versions became available to the general population. The brew was no longer a rarefied experience for the fan, which became a commodity, one that flooded the market. People began drinking it more and more, seeking to replicate the profound insights that Linnea had experienced. Some found solace, others found madness. The brew had become addicted, not in the way that drugs were addicted, but in the way that knowledge and awareness could overwhelm the human mind. The more people drank, the less they felt human. they became unmoved from reality, lost in the vast, unending stretch of the universe. The cosmic divide, as the consumption of the brew spread, a divide emerged in society. Some sought to use it for enlightenment, hoping to reach a higher plane of existence. Others became idealistic, drunk on the realization that the universe was both infinitely vast and utterly indifferent to human existence. The experience of drinking the universe brew was one of both transcendence and terror intimate knowledge, the sublime and the horrific, all in one. That perhaps the most profound shift came when Vania herself stopped drinking the brew. The more she drank, the more she realized that the universe was too much, it was too infinite, too overwhelming. The wisdom she had gained, the connections she had made, began to slip through her fingers. Her mind, once sharp and focused, became a tangled mass of cosmic fragments. She saw too much, understood too much. There was a beauty in that also a crushing weight. She shut down the brewmaster. That it was too late. The final seat, blinded, the universe itself seemed to respond. People who had consumed the brew in excess began to vanish. Entire cities emptied, their inhabitants lost to the cosmic currents. Some believed it was the universe itself reclaiming what had been borrowed, an echo of the ancient myths, with Icarus flying too close to the sun. Vania, having stepped away from the brewmaster, wandered the empty space of Earth. She looked up at the stars, no longer filled with the same longing. The universe was no longer a drink to her. It was a vast and unknowable thing, beautiful in its complexity, terrifying in its vastness. She had tasted the universe, and now she knew sometimes the greatest wisdom was in knowing when to put the cut down. As for the rest of humanity, they had learned what it meant to drink the universe brew, and some, like Vania, wouldn't ever taste it again. That's the memory of that taste of the knowledge, of the ecstasy, of the fear would remain forever, like a forgotten dream that lingered on the edge of consciousness, waiting for the next soul brave enough to take a sip. The aftermath, a bitter legacy. The cities were quieter now. The constant hum of technology and the ever-present goal of screens, streets that Ali once bustled with eager crowds lined up to purchase the latest batch of cosmic essence were now eerily still. People had stopped drinking the brew in droves, that not because they had found peace or clarity. Most were simply too terrified to continue. The cosmic euphoria that had once made them feel connected to everything had become a curse, an inescapable weight on their souls. Dr. Vania Grayson had vanished from the public eye. Some speculated that she had gone into hiding, overwhelmed by the enormity of what she had unlocked. Others believed she had become one of the lost souls who had consumed too much, and had slipped into a state of permanent disassociation from reality. Yet Vania, in tow, had retreated to an isolated research facility on a desolate island, far from the grasp of those who sought her for guidance. She had not stopped searching, that her quest had shifted from understanding the universe to understanding what it meant to be human.
We tried to become gods, he continued, his gaze distant, but we cannot be gods, not while tethered to flesh. The brew gave us a taste, yes, but we reached too far. Now we are lost in the currents of time, drifting between worlds we can no longer touch. His words felt like a chant, a mantra of shared loss and revelation. The crowd, once a mixture of the curious, the hopeful, and the desperate, now stood in rapt silence, as though trying to glean meaning from the dissonant hum of Gabriel's voice. I see you, Gabriel said softly, his eyes now focused on Linnea, who had quietly arrived among the crowd, her presence barely noticed. I see all of you who once sought the truth in the stars. You wanted to know everything, but the more you drank, the less you understood. The brew wasn't a gift, it was a riddle, and now it is turning into a curse. The lost ones, a new consciousness, back in her isolation. Linnea watched the broadcast of Gabriel's speech, a cold chill settling in her chest. The world, it seemed, was finally beginning to see what she had feared all along. The brew had opened a door to the infinite, but instead of elevating humanity, it had fragmented them. The more they drank, the more their minds splintered. What had once been a collective pursuit of knowledge had turned into a dissonant cacophony of disconnected souls. And then, a terrifying possibility began to take root in her mind. She had not just created the brew, she had, in a way, opened a door to something else, something beyond the physical realm. The lost ones, as they were now called, were not simply humans who had consumed too much cosmic energy. No, Linnea suspected they had become vessels for something much older, much more ancient. Perhaps they had touched something that had existed long before the first stars had ignited, a primordial consciousness, a cosmic intelligence that had been waiting, hidden in the fabric of the universe. The brew had unlocked more than just knowledge. It had unlocked the possibility for the universe itself to remember, to awaken from its own slumber. The threshold, Linnea knew that the next step, the next drink, might not just change humanity, it could change the very nature of existence itself. If she were to continue her research, she would need to go deeper into the brew, but there was a risk, one she had avoided for so long. The brew might not only merge human consciousness with the stars, it might connect the drinker with something else, something incomprehensible, something that no human mind could withstand. And yet, the pull was undeniable. Linnea had always known the brew held the answers. Now, she understood, it was not about seeking knowledge, it was about understanding who or what was behind the knowledge. Linnea stood at the edge of her lab, staring into the glistening vessel of cosmic essence that waited on her desk. A part of her wanted to turn away, to walk out and never look back, but another part, the part that had once dreamed of touching the stars, of knowing everything, knew that she had to drink it once more. The universe had been waiting for this moment, just as much as she had. Perhaps it was time to finish what she had started, to drink once again from the cosmic brew, to take the final step into the unknown. But the universe wasn't just something to understand. The universe was something to become. The last drink, as Linnea raised the glass to her lips, she hesitated, her fingers trembling. She could feel the pull of the brew, the weight of the cosmos, the whispers of those who had already taken the leap before her. A final thought crossed her mind. Could one truly return from the brink? Could she remain human, or would she become something else entirely? With a deep breath, Linnea drank. In that moment, the world around her vanished. The stars pulsed, galaxies formed and unraveled, the infinite expanded and contracted in waves. Time no longer made sense, it was a distant hum, like the soft beat of a drum. Linnea could feel herself slipping beyond herself, beyond the world, beyond her body, into something vast, something old. And then, she understood. She was no longer just Linnea Grayson, the scientist, she was the universe, not merely a witness to its patterns, but its very breath. She was the flicker of a distant star, the moment of a galaxy's birth, the silent void between atoms. She was the sound of time, the taste of eternity, the pulse of everything that had ever been and ever would be. And in that moment, Linnea knew the truth. There was no returning from this. The brew had not merely opened her mind, it had transformed her into the very thing she had sought to understand. She was now the brewmaster. The universe had no end, it had no boundaries, and it had no one left to witness it but her. And in the vast expanse, she realized the cruelest truth of all, there was no one left to drink. The aftertaste of the infinite. In the years that followed the widespread consumption of the universe's brew, the earth entered a new, paradoxical age. The world was quieter now, filled with people who had glimpsed the infinite and couldn't forget it. They had tasted something that defied the limits of understanding, something so vast and unsettling that it left a lingering emptiness behind, an ache for something that could never be fully grasped. Linnea Grayson became a recluse, her name a whispered legend. She moved to a remote island, surrounded by dense, mist-covered forests and cliffs that dropped into the vast, tumultuous sea. She built herself a small cottage, far from the cities that had once clamored for her insights, far from the world that had become addicted to the knowledge of the cosmos. She still had moments, brief, fleeting moments, when the pull of the brew called to her. She could feel it, like a distant echo of a song she had once known. But Linnea knew better now. She had seen the damage it had caused. People had grown disillusioned, unable to bear the weight of the universal truths they had uncovered, minds shattered under the burden of infinite knowledge. Some sought oblivion in isolation, others turned to religious cults, creating gods out of the very things they had learned to manipulate. Even with all her understanding, Linnea couldn't prevent the unraveling. There was a cost to understanding the universe's recipe, an existential price that no one had anticipated. And though the brewmaster had been shut down, the damage had already been done. The stars had whispered their secrets too loudly, and humanity, in its quest to taste the unknown, had listened too eagerly. The new seekers, but Linnea's reclusion didn't last. Word of her exile spread. It wasn't just the governments or corporations that sought her out now. It was the seekers, the dreamers, the people who still believed there was something left to understand. They came to her in small, ragtag groups, each one bearing the marks of those who had tasted the brew, eyes too wide, minds too distant, hearts too heavy. They weren't interested in the dangers anymore. They only wanted to know what Linnea had seen, what she had learned. They wanted to taste the infinite too, to know the secret behind it all. "Can you teach us?" one of them asked, a young woman with eyes that seemed to see through Linnea, as if she too was connected to the stars. Linnea sat in the small, dimly lit room of her cottage, staring into the fire. The flames flickered with a life of their own, as though they too were part of the great cosmic dance. The hum of the universe's energy seemed to reverberate in the air. "I can teach you," Linnea replied, her voice soft but steady, "but I must warn you, the universe is not a drink to be savored. It is a force to be understood, a pattern to be followed. If you seek it out, know this, there is no turning back." The young woman's gaze remained unwavering. "We're already here, we've already tasted a part of it. What is left for us if we don't drink deeper?" Linnea sighed, her eyes clouding with the weight of her past mistakes. "What remains is your humanity, but that's a fragile thing now. Once you drink too deeply of the universe's brew, it will call you again, and again, and each time, you understand less of who you are and more of what you're not." She paused, considering the young woman's words. "Maybe that's what you need to know. Maybe it's the cost of seeking something greater than yourself. Maybe we were never meant to know the whole recipe, but we've tasted it, haven't we? Now, the question is, what do we do with the aftertaste?" The return of the brew. It was then that a surprising revelation came to Linnea. The brewmaster was still active. Her heart sank. The brewmaster had been shut down, or so she had thought, but the whispers were unmistakable. Rumors began to spread that someone had managed to restart the machine, and the brew was flowing again, this time, more powerful than ever before. A new faction had risen, led by a group calling themselves the Architects. They had learned from the mistakes of the past, they claimed, and had perfected the recipe. Now, they wanted to offer the universe's brew not just to the select few, but to everyone, freely, openly, to all of humanity. The message spread across the world like wildfire, and the allure was undeniable. The Architects promised that their brew would provide clarity without madness, enlightenment without the descent into nihilism. The universe, they said, could be fully understood and controlled. For a moment, Linnea thought of stopping them. She could shut down the brewmaster, destroy it, ensure that no one would ever taste the universe again. But she knew that it wasn't that simple. She had already seen what happened when humanity reached for the cosmos, when they tried to drink from the well of the infinite. You couldn't put the universe back in the bottle. Instead, Linnea did what she had done best. She watched, quietly, from the shadows. She saw the new generations rise, eager for a taste, believing that they could master the brew that had once unmade the world. They had the same fire in their eyes that she had had all those years ago. But this time, she wasn't going to stop them. The great choice. As humanity's thirst for the brew deepened, the world changed again. It became a place where the lines between reality and the cosmic blend, where the universe was no longer just something out there, but something we could sip, savor, and even manipulate. Some would call it the dawn of a new enlightenment, others would call it the beginning of the end, but Linnea knew the truth. The universe had never been ours to control. It had always been the brew we drank, not the other way around. The final choice, she realized, was never whether we should drink from the cosmic cup, it was whether we were ready to live with the aftertaste. Would humanity learn to live with the wisdom it gained, or would it lose itself in the infinite and be consumed? The stars remained silent, their secrets untouched. The brew was there for the taking, and perhaps the ultimate question was, who would choose to drink? As Linnea gazed up at the vast, star-filled sky, she knew one thing for sure: we would always thirst for the universe. It was the taste that could never be forgotten, the knowledge that could never be unlearned. And with that, the next part of the story began.